You also mentioned the stability and home base of Riverside and how the families would go to other areas in the region. Would you like to speak more about that?
Yeah, for example, Isaac Char wrote a book on his biography. It's called Gold Mountain. And he described Pachappa Camp as the first and largest Koreatown at the time. And he also said there were smaller Korean settlements in Upland, Redland, Claremont, but compared to Riverside, they were very small, and they were always glad to come back to Riverside like a home, homecoming.
Okay.
Because we're the family based, home cooking,
Yeah.
family. So that's what he describes.
Almost
What it's
like
like
artist.
to return to Riverside. Yeah, one of the rare images of early Korean settlement in Pachappa Camp, and this is never been seen before, photograph. And we see Gage Canal here, and we know by literature Pachappa Camp was right next to Gage Canal. We thought there would be as high as 300,
Oh, wow.
particularly during citrus harvest season, picking season.
Okay, so peak season.
The peak season. But as of 1907, I know the cooperative association was established in Riverside by Dosan and Chang. The membership alone was 150 in Riverside.
Just in terms of the membership.
Members, and only male were eligible to become members.
Okay.
So if you include women and children, and plus I saw advertisement in 1905 looking for 100 Korean laborers to work in the citrus industry. So if you put it all together, it's over 300 during the peak season.
Now, the interesting dimension to this finding in terms of the first Korean American settlement here in Riverside is that it was different from other settlements or other camps. Do you want to speak more towards
Yes,
that?
there were Korean workers in Hawaii, in San Francisco, Sacramento, Utah, Wyoming, different places. But other places were mostly young single men. Whereas Riverside was family-based, men, women, and children living together as a family unit. And Riverside Camp also had church services, Korean mission, and Korean Labor Bureau was established in 1905, and also Korean school was established. Therefore, and also self-regulating agency as well as independence organization, it was all functioning within Koreatown in Riverside at the time.
So it was families and then infrastructure in terms of social institutions that enabled it to be a stable community.
Right, they had a birthday party, a wedding, and a lecture series, all kinds of different activities, social, independent, political, economic activities, all took place in Riverside, Pachappa Camp.
And the camp is located on...
It was 1532 Pachappa Avenue. That was the main base, and nearby there were about 20 wooden buildings, and no lightings and no running water. It was, wooden shack. Originally used by the Chinese railroad construction workers in 1880s.
Okay.
And later on, Korean workers began to occupy lease.
Okay, so they adapted and reused.
Right.
And the men that came and then the families that came, they were tasked with building their own homes. Is that correct?
No, they were leasing buildings.
They were leasing buildings?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Dosan Chang-ho's plan, his vision, and when he's recruiting. Was that a factor in terms of creating a stable community?
Yeah, I think so. Initially, Dosan came to Riverside March 23rd, 1904. And he found Riverside very suitable, nice weather, lots of employment opportunities. So, he and Cornelius Rumsey became very good friends. So he was able to get a loan from Rumsey family, $1,500,
Okay.
and to establish Korean Labor Bureau. And within a month, he was able to repay all of it. And with Korean Labor Bureau, the Koreans could find jobs easily here in Riverside. Without that, it was impossible because labor contractors were mostly Japanese Americans. So, Korean workers had a hard time finding jobs. So with Korean Labor Bureau, it's an employment agency that provided employment opportunities for Korean workers. So as the Korean immigrants began to arrive in Riverside, and An Chang-ho established 공립협회, meaning cooperative association in 1905. Mostly membership consists of Riverside Korean immigrants as well as San Francisco. However, they decided to establish headquarters in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
And they urged An Chang-ho to relocate to San Francisco to help assist newly arriving Korean immigrants to find jobs and find a stability.
Okay.
So he relocated to San Francisco. From there, they had a vision of relocating Korean workers, families to Sacramento, Utah, Wyoming, and Riverside. And so they had a plan, and they purchased train tickets, provided a lunchbox, and told where to get off.
Okay.
So they had a system going. So that's how the many families were able to come down to Riverside, and they were part of the growing Pachappa families in 1905, beginning around 1905, and of course 1913, deep freeze.
Yeah, the big
Had
freeze.
main effect, a lot of families began to relocate to Central California, to Ridley and Danube area.
Okay, so that kind of spurred a migration out of the
Right.
area
Right, after 1913.
because of that crop failure.
Right,
freeze.
right. And An Chang-ho and his family also relocated to Los Angeles sometime October or December 1913.
Okay.